Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Teacher Talk with Doc Rocker. I, as always, am your host, Russ Downey, and with me, as always, today is Danton of Doc Rocker Music. Danton, how's it going?
Yo, hey, how's it going? I'm good, Russ. How about yourself?
I'm very good. So, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so those that have been following may notice that we just posted a new little mini series that we're going to start called Teacher Talk Tutelage, and we're going to launch a couple other components similar to that, where we're going to try to kind of narrow our focus on some shorter scale episodes, and we're going to start another one of those today with a simple series of method book reviews. Since this channel is so geared towards music teachers, whether that be in the public school setting or in the private studio setting, we're going to over the next several weeks and months, we plan to do a nice sort of detailed look at what's out there for different music teachers, and we're going to try to cover as many instruments as possible. So we figured, what better way to start than with drums? As our host Russ Downey is most experienced as a drum teacher, we're going to talk about a particular drum method today. So Russ, what are we going to talk about?
So, we're going to talk about probably one of my favorite drum method books out there, and it is the Groove Essentials by Tommy Igoe. I love this book. It's great.
I love it too. I'm not even a drum teacher, and I love this book. I had the pleasure of using it as a student and as a teacher in my limited drum experience. I've used it quite a bit, and I absolutely love it. So I'm excited to talk about it, especially to get some of your perspectives, since you've definitely used it a lot more extensively than I have, and we could talk about why it's great and why more people should know about it if they don't, and where you can get it.
Right. And just to preface, the book itself, this is kind of a rare situation because the book wasn't actually the first step in this particular series. So for those that don't know, Tommy Igoe is a famous percussionist who's a session musician who has done a ton of work. I believe he resides in San Francisco, and he's played. I think he has groups that he plays with both in New York and in California. And he's been on the scene for quite a while, but all this kind of started back in the mid 2000s as him and Vic Firth paired up to actually create a series of posters that had different grooves for rock and for funk, for jazz, for Latin beats, for all kinds of different stuff that was actually put into music classrooms and music stores. I actually remember seeing some of them as like a middle school kid myself, along with like the Vic Firth like 40 Percussive Arts Society rudiments. So Vic Firth had a lot of that kind of stuff that was up in music classrooms, and it was a fairly common sight. So, like I said, it kind of started as these series of posters for different style of music, so that music teachers could have those grooves available to them when they needed them, whether it be for like a jazz band or any type of situation in a concert band or anything that required these different styles of music to be played on drums. But later on, what happened is they actually created a DVD, like an instructional DVD out of it, starring Tommy Igoe himself, where he would go ahead and play through these grooves. And then shortly thereafter, the book was made as a companion to go along with the DVD itself. And most of the time, the book comes with the DVD as it is now, or at least when DVDs were still a commonplace thing that came with it. Now it'd just be something online. But the book itself is a really, really great resource for teaching a ton of different, very applicable drum grooves, whether it be for rock music, funk, jazz, Latin, world beats, all kinds of different stuff. And one of the things I love about the book itself is that it's very multifaceted in that it gives you not only chord beats to work with, but it gives you variations that vary in difficulty, which means you can keep circling back to this book as you're teaching your students as they become more skilled over time. And the even cooler part is that the tracks that go along with them, songs that go along with the beats themselves, are played by real musicians, and they're full length pieces of music. It's basically like you get a chance to sit in and be the drummer while everybody else is playing around you, which is something I can't always say for a lot of other drum set method books. They don't always do that. A lot of times the songs are short, maybe like a minute or 2 minutes long just to practice that beat itself. These are actually, it feels like you're playing a full song, sans lyrics, of course. But even inside the book, each of the particular beats has a chart written out like you're looking at a jazz chart, which is really, really helpful for getting you or your students comfortable playing in a setting where they have to read a chart or at least kind of pay attention to the general outline of how a song is going. And I find it super helpful for getting students comfortable playing different beats. And it's worked great in my experience in the past. And I cannot say enough about this book. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. On the big picture, the thing I like the most about it is how I like how the book is organized. I like how it kind of takes rock, jazz, funk, it like creates and it separates all of it. So it almost it's like you're visiting these different planets with your students, and you can kind of then you could really, I mean, I took a basic like intro to drum set course at Westchester, which was designed for people like me that were music majors, performance majors on a non-drum instrument. Like, here's how you teach a piano player how to play the drums. So I was in with like guitar players and saxophone, all these jazz guys that were like big on this stuff, and they wanted to get, if nothing else, a better appreciation for what the drummers are doing in the band. So most of the class work involved us going through the groove essentials with the professor, and it was awesome. I learned so much from taking that class, and that pretty much was the catalyst for me starting to teach drums privately on the side, to just to continue to learn more and to grow as a teacher. So, and the first thing that struck me, like, it was really cool because like we spent like there was a whole unit of the semester which you could very easily set up this way when you're teaching privately, of like, all right, let's spend a couple months focusing just on rock, and let's talk about how how you hold the sticks differently for rock drumming, all the little subtleties of rock drumming that you can fuse into all of the grooves that are in this book. And the way it's organized, each groove is just one solid page, and it's, as Russ pointed out, it's in such a simple format. You get this nice lead sheet notation that's real easy to follow and understand, and it's a really good way to teach things like song structure and road mapping and all that sort of stuff. The variations are great because they scaffold in different levels of difficulty. And another way that this book is scaffolded really, really effectively, I think, especially for a drum student, is that there's slow and fast versions
Right.
of each groove that are set up at different tempi, which is really, really nice. And all the recording quality, playing along with like a real nice groovy bass line,
Yes.
it just feels really good. And it's Russ, you mentioned the word multifaceted, and I think that is, if there was one word that can define this book better than any other, it's that. It's multifaceted in every single way, in how the information is presented, in how it's taught, in how it's developed, how those skills in a student are developed. It's such just a nice, neat, tightly packed, multi-dimensional approach to teaching drum set. And I mean, I can't speak as a drum teacher because I'm not. I can pretend to be all I want, but I don't really know much other methods out there. But I can't imagine something being really much better than this.
No, and that's kind of the way I feel about it too. I think one of the things I really love about the book itself is that besides just being literally an encyclopedia of grooves for different styles that you can revert back to as you're learning how to play different styles of music, or build on top of for constructing your own grooves for, if you're writing or playing your own music, is that it also has a good bit of information. It's kind of like a treasure trove of information about the different styles of drumming, and that gives a great resource showing examples of some of the most famous drummers in each of those genres, which is fantastic because most of the time, if you're listening to a particular style of music, you'll know the musicians of the bands or the groups that you're listening to, but it's always helpful to have that list of others who you may not be listening to, so you can go and find their material and listen to what they play and gain that influence. So this book itself, to me, is kind of like an all-encompassing encyclopedic style knowledge of not only what these grooves are, but who to listen to, who to kind of learn from by just listening and watching them play. And that's really where the strength of this book comes from, is that it's not just the grooves themselves, but it's also the knowledge that the book, it's packed with information, which is great. And I've never seen another method book that really is kind of geared towards you actually spending some time reading the book itself. It's always like, here's the stuff on the page, and here's a short blurb about what you do, and your teacher will
Here's
explain
stuff
more
to
of it.
practice, and here's stuff that you could easily read yourself, but your teacher's gonna read to you in your lessons. No, this one has a lot more insight than that too.
Mhm,
Like it explains, here's why this fast version of the groove is different, and here's what we've done differently with the bass line to show
mhm,
you what you could do with. I'm looking at one of the examples here that you're going to be talking about pretty soon.
mhm.
This is the same chord progression, but we used an entirely different bass line to illustrate what a powerful tool shifting the groove is. So it subtly infuses all these other niceties about how you can treat the groove as a drummer, uh, artistically and creatively.
Absolutely. And I think that's actually a really powerful thing I wish more books did,
Mm-hmm.
is it kind of it's kind of a self-empowering book in that you don't need somebody to necessarily always interpret exactly what's there for you. It is very helpful, obviously, if you're, a teacher, that you can interpret what is on the page for your students. But if you're a person who is learning on their own, you can read, what's written beneath each one of these grooves and understand like what you're supposed to be doing, what to watch out for, what to pay attention to. And, that's really awesome. I wish more method books took the time to do that kind of stuff. And it assumes that you are, going to make sure you take the time to actually go and read this stuff and pay attention to it. And I
Yeah.
can't agree more. I think it's great. Now, the one thing I did want to mention, though, with this particular book, this is one of those books that I refer to as a fantastic intermediate to advanced book. And one of the reasons for that is that it doesn't teach the basic tenets of how to read drum set music. Like it's not a
Yeah,
slow
it kind of
build up.
assumes you already know that stuff.
Yes, exactly. So this is not necessarily a book I would say, okay, put this for a person, for a student who's
Like
never
their
played
first
drum set
year
before.
on drum set, maybe not, but
Exactly. But I would say this makes a great second book. And it can last you for quite a while working through this book too. This makes a great second book for a drum set student because after they learn how to read drum set music, they can start working with some of the grooves in here, and you could pick and choose. You don't have to go in order. You can skip around. It's very, very modular and very adaptable, which is also very helpful as well. So yes, I basically put this as like one of the perfect intermediate to advanced books. So like I mentioned before, though, one of the cool things, and actually Danton was the one who mentioned this, was that a lot of the grooves, at least in the earlier part of the book, have a slow version and a fast version, which is awesome to have pieces of music at different tempi. But not only that, it's because it's not just the same piece of music sped up, it's actually a different piece of music and a different chart
another
for the same
variation in
beat.
its own right.
And not only that, the variations are different at the different tempos, which is
Yes.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of cool too, because then you can see like, okay, well, it's not just the same thing, bumped up, 30 clicks. It's actually like you're playing a different song, just using this groove as a core component of it. So I figured what we would do is we could take a short listen to one of the rock grooves and one of the funk grooves, so we can hear what a slow version sounds like and what the fast version sounds like of each. And one important thing I do want to note, the recordings do not have any drum set in it. You're meant to play along with this, but it contains everything else, which is cool. Not only that, I like the fact that he, introduces which groove it is, and there's an ample amount of time of, click off, basically a count off before you actually start in. So let's take a look at one of the rock grooves, shall we?
Yes.
So this particular rock groove is one of the first ones in the book. This is number 4, which you'll see on the poster that actually came out before the book, and they are the same corresponding grooves, which is very helpful as well. So here's number 4, and here's the slow version of it.
Groove 4, slow.
And I'm going to stop that right there. But this particular beat, as you can see up on the poster, is a fairly straightforward one. It's basically 1 and 3 end on the bass drum, 2 and 4 on the snare, and open and close of the hi-hat on the end of 4 to beat one of the next bars. So basically 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. And you can even hear where that hi-hat is supposed to be open at, because there's a little bass groove that kind of goes with that too. And that's really cool that they have that, going on. Now, the cool part about that is that it's pretty well laid back. So it's not like you have to be breaking any land speed records to play that comfortably. But there's a fast version of it too. So let's take a listen to that one.
Groove 4, fast.
that right about there. But with a groove like that, you can kind of hear, obviously the tempo is picked up. It is based off of the slower version, but it's not exactly the same either. It's not just a sped up version of it. And at that point, you're hearing to be basically mean like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, basically up at that tempo right there.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like a natural progression, one you can go to from one to the other. And obviously starting with the slow and then moving to the fast makes a nice progression for students as well. So once they get comfortable mastering the slow version, you can pick up the tempo. Now, I mentioned one of the funk ones as well, and we'll show this up on the poster as well there. And this is Groove 11. One of my favorite ones, actually, one of the ones that I got a chance to work on in college with my teacher. So that was always a fun one.
Nice.
Let me go ahead and put this up and we can take a listen to it and kind of hear what goes on with it.
Groove 11, slow.
So you can hear pretty straightforward funk groove, but not too fast. Now it actually does layer in guitar and then a second guitar after that, but it's like 16 bar sections each time. So you really get a chance to just dig in with the groove and get a good comfortable tempo and just keep that going over and over and over again. And you can kind of like, you can kind of feel it because you can see you have like the sway going on as you're listening to it. And it's good with that. It helps you to kind of feel that as well. So the last one we're going to take a look at is that particular funk beat, but the fast version of it.
Groove 11, fast.
Stop that right there. This one always sounds to me half like a mix between like a Jackson's tune and a Mario Kart like track theme.
Yeah, like for like a menu screen.
It almost reminds me of that to some extent, but like
what I really like about that one is that it throws in those big empty bars where you get to be featured in the just hits. As the drummer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you just get the empty hits and it all stops and you get to just really dig into the groove and keep the tempo. Exactly. I really like that. I never did this one. This one's really, really cool. I'm looking at the chart and I'm reading Igoe's notes on it. It is great. I tend to get really critical when it comes to like books that have like this kind of personable side to
Mhm.
it, you know, because like he kind of writes with like a personality and a sense of humor a little
Mhm.
bit. But I think it lends itself really well to the things he's trying to teach, you know, like emphasizing the importance of
Mhm.
simplicity, emphasizing the importance of, you know, how does the groove you play serve the song that the band is playing. And that's like he has a whole paragraph on it at the bottom of the page. You know, and of course the big question is always, is the groove serving the song? But if I have not made that clear by now, then I should just write a book on baking. And just like those little tiny quips here and
Mhm.
there, I think lend themselves just the right amount of charm
Mhm.
that, like you said, anyone that is into drums and can at least hold a steady
Mhm.
beat can pick up this book and learn a lot out
Right.
of it, without a teacher. With a teacher, of course, you could even explore it in a lot more depth and detail. But this is perfectly serviceable for any aspiring drummer out there that's looking to improve or even just further diversify themselves in
Absolutely.
terms of style, because it breaks down the different, what is it, like 6 different units: rock, funk, jazz,
Yeah, I
world,
think it's rock,
Latin.
funk,
There's a whole bunch
jazz,
of,
R&B, disco, rock, world, Latin, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
That's
it
not
really is
to the
kind of a
six ones, but
catch-all.
it's all that
It
kind.
gives you a little bit of
It
everything.
does,
It
which
is,
is great. And the funny part
yeah,
is you mentioned that exactly, like talking about does the groove serve the song? And that's something that I try and stress to my students a good bit as well, because a lot of people kind of get the idea that, well, more has to be better, but it's not always the case. I'll, I'll never forget like the fact that, people kind of used to kind of, not be very nice to the drummer from Pink Floyd because the stuff was really simple he was playing, but that's the kind of drumming those tunes call for. And to know
yeah,
exactly what you need to play to complement a song well is exactly what you need to do as a drummer. It's not about how much in the forefront you can be. It's about how well do you provide the foundation and complement the song and keep time, obviously.
yeah.
So
But that's a
one
given.
one would hope.
Yeah, should be.
We won't talk anything about drummers getting faster and that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, all those stereotypes aside, we're here just to focus on the Tommy Igoe.
exactly. So, just those four examples kind of showcase what this book can do and what it can offer to a student, to a teacher, working with a student. I cannot recommend this book enough. I would definitely give it a 5 out of 5. As a great intermediate to advanced drum set book of my own rating for that. It's great. If you're learning how to play drum set, go get this book. It's good. If you're teaching somebody how to play drum set, go buy this book and then tell them to go buy this book.
Yes, and going off of that, stay tuned to our channel for more of this method book review series. We're going to be covering not just other drum lesson method books, but we're also going to be covering, of course, I'm going to cover piano stuff. I have a lot to say about piano books that are out there. We're going to try to bring on some guests and talk about other instruments of their specialties. So anything, you know, band, orchestra, guitar, bass, the sky's the limit, and we have a lot of ground to cover. And we thank you all for tuning in and watching our show, and hopefully you found this set informative and helpful, and especially for all you non-drummers out there, hopefully it turned you on to something totally new and different and fun and cool. And stay tuned, there's more to come.
All right. Thank you very much. And everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.